Welcome back, S'mores, to Beyond the Campfire, where today we are diving into a mystery of a very famous person who might be as spooky as us, Edgar Allan Poe. So today
I
we will dive into his death of what could have happened, because it's not as straightforward as it may seem. So get your blankets, get your fires started, and your s'mores roasted. Um, and yeah, let's dive into this one. If you're new here, make sure you follow us at Beyond Campfire on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. We're still figuring out threads. Oops. Anyways, so what do you have for us today, Steve?
all right. Well, we are talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Edgar Allan Poe, and how he died. So, many of you guys know I'm a nerd, and one thing you might not have known about is that I'm actually very nerdy about Edgar Allan Poe. So he's one of my favorite authors. I love his poems. I love his short stories. And yeah, he's a guy that if you ask me who my favorite historical figure was for like 2 weeks in sixth grade, I would have said Edgar Allan Poe. So yeah, I don't know. He was a guy that was very smart, but also struggled a lot in his love life. Uh, he was somebody that was kind of appreciated kind of later on in time, not quite when he was alive. And so, for a lot of reasons, he's just a guy I find very interesting. He's a guy that I relate to in some sense.
Yeah, I was fixing to ask with the whole struggles with his love life. I was like, that sounds familiar.
I know,
That
yeah.
sounds
I do want to preface this. Some of his love life decisions, I would not have made.
Oh,
Uh,
are we gonna get into some of those love life decisions?
we'll get into a little bit as it connects into his death. But yeah, if you are someone that likes The Telltale Heart or The Raven or any of those stories, The Fall of the House of Usher, he's the guy. He's the guy
Mhm.
who wrote all that. So actually, I think we did an episode where I read out A Telltale Heart, right?
Yep, it was our Halloween episode.
A Halloween episode. Okay.
That's where we did a collection of short stories, and that was a fun episode. If you guys want, y'all can go back and watch that one. That was our Halloween episode. Next year will be a little. This year will be a little bit different, since we got Patreon launched now.
So
And
it might not totally be unknown that I like Edgar Allan Poe a lot. But
no, because you said it in that episode.
okay, gotcha. So all right, well, if you are one of our OG listeners, I was listening way back in during Halloween time, then yeah, you already know this. So
Golly, that's fixing to be a whole year ago.
I know that's crazy.
Oh man, we've been doing this a long time.
So we will get into the day in question first. I actually made a ChatGPT account of it because I think it's just kind of funner to read it that way. So we'll read a ChatGPT story of how Edgar Allan Poe died, and it's going to have all the facts and stuff. Some of it might be a little bit exaggerated. After that, I'll get into Edgar Allan Poe's life, part of why he kind of ended up being in the position he was in. And then from there, lastly, we'll talk about theories, and then we'll end with our own story of me and Will encountering Edgar Allan Poe. Maybe.
Are we time traveling again? Are we getting in the DeLorean and whipping it back?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So it's gonna be a fun time. So before we start, any questions? What do you know about Edgar Allan Poe? What do you know about the day
I mean, I
of?
don't. I kind of know a little bit because in the seventh grade we had to read some of
Sure.
Edgar Allan Poe stuff. Like I remember we had to read the one story about the dude who like put his wife or somebody in the wall.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
it was
yeah.
that
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's oh, how do I not remember that story off the top of my head? I know the story, I just don't remember the
yeah.
title of it. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so we kind of just had to. I remember just having to read a little bit about him in seventh grade. That's kind of all I know about Edgar.
Sure, yeah. Okay, well, hey, let's travel back in time. So we'll read the account of the ChatGPT account of Edgar Allan Poe
Mm-hmm.
being discovered and how he died 4 days after his discovery. And so we are going back to October 3rd, 1849, at a place called Ryan's Fourth Ward in Baltimore, Maryland. Just a little bit of background. So, Edgar Allan Poe, it's near the end of his life. He was supposed to be traveling from Richmond, Virginia to Philadelphia to do some editing for a friend's book. However, on his way to Philadelphia, he disappeared for several days. People were looking for him. He was engaged to be married. So they're trying to find this guy. Finally, he is found in Baltimore on Election Day, October 3rd, 1849. And that's where our story begins. So here we go. Here is the incident itself. October 3rd, 1849, Ryan's Fourth Ward, near the election polls. Keep that in mind. That's going to be important later. Near the election polls in Baltimore, Maryland. All right, here we go. I wasn't looking for nobody that morning. It was election day, and like most, I had coins in my pocket and whiskey on my breath. The corner near Ryan's Tavern was loud. Barkers yelling, drunks laughing, votes being bought and sold. But then I saw a man, crumpled on the gutter, half draped over a barrel. Not uncommon, but this one, he was sober looking in the eyes, even if his body was ruined. He wore a tattered coat, far too big for his frame, breeches stained, one shoe missing. He stared at the brick wall like it was speaking to him. "They won't leave," he whispered. "The spirits, they cling. They know I wrote them and not they will not go." I knelt beside him. "Sir, are you all right?" He turned those gray, haunted eyes on me. Am, am I in Philadelphia? No, no. The walls are wrong. The air is wrong. I see them. They are in the fog. Lenore is with them. He tried to stand, then collapsed. I shouted for help. A few men laughed, called him a drunk. I saw it differently. This was not madness. This was torment. All right, part two, the doctor. This won't be too long, I promise. All
Yeah.
right, the physician. So, Edgar Allan, Edgar Allan Poe is found. He's beaten, drunk, kind of out of his mind. He's taken to the doctor. So, this first account was October 3rd. Now we have October 4th through 7th. So, he's taken to Washington College Hospital. And this is where ChatGPT continues the story. So, at Washington College Hospital, we are getting the perspective of Dr. John Moran. Sounds kind of like moron.
Yeah.
Dr. John Moran had seen his share of lunatics, laudanum men, and dying beggars, but he'd never seen someone quite like the pale, fluttering soul in bed number 6. "Name?" he asked. A weak voice answered, "Poe, Edgar Allan Poe." The name chilled him.
Hmm.
The writer? For 4 days, Poe drifted between worlds. He raved about unseen things. "Bells! Bells are tolling under the water. There's a man with no eyes reading a book of fire. The raven, it whispers to me." He clawed at his sheets, begged for Reynolds, a man no one could identify. Once, he grabbed Dr. Moran's sleeves. "You don't know what it's like, doctor," he rasped, "to write the shadows and then be chased by them. They followed me, they waited, and now they feast." His voice broke. His eyes were wet with something beyond tears.
Mm.
And then he breathed his last, trembling and saying, "Lord, help my poor soul." and then he died.
Ouch.
Yep. Dr. Moran closed the poet's eyes, turned to the window. Dawn was breaking, and the fog in the street was beginning to lift. But inside him, something colder had settled, a story that could never quite be told. And that's the account. Now, most of that was true. Some of the crazy stuff Edgar Allan Poe was saying uh, was reflected in that story.
Yeah.
He actually was found by a poll worker. Dr. John Moran is actually the guy that was treating him, and so that's the incident. So, what do you think, Will? Where was he? He was supposed to go to Philadelphia. He didn't make it there. He's somehow in Baltimore. He's wearing weird clothes. He's raving about spirits.
It's weird.
It's weird, right? Yeah.
Because it's like, it's like it's like if he was a drunk, like if he was drunk or took acid or something, he wouldn't ramble for 4 days.
Sure. Yeah.
Like eventually the effects would wear off and he'd be fine.
Exactly.
He didn't have a fever or anything, did he?
Let's see his symptoms. It's I don't think he did. No. Let me look through my notes too. But yeah, he definitely he was having hallucinations, or maybe he was saying something. It depends on who you ask. Yeah, he was wearing clothes that weren't his. He was known to be a pretty classy guy in the way
Yeah.
but like he was wearing like beggar's clothes. They were like really tattered and messed up. So that was weird. One of his shoes were missing. Like he was wearing a coat way too big for him. So it's like, why is he wearing these things?
Dude, something happened to him between.
Something happened, yeah.
Something happened. Somebody got a hold of him or something. Because, like, it's like, and he didn't have any problems with alcohol before.
So he was drunk at various points in his life. We'll talk about his background in a second.
Yeah.
However, a couple of months before this incident happened, he had signed a temperance pledge, and he had vowed never to drink again. So,
which, I mean, if you get drunk, it's like usually you take your clothes off, not just put on random clothes.
Sure. Okay, I'm finding his symptoms. He was delirious. He was incoherent, like he could barely speak. He couldn't walk or stand without any help. He had tremors and was restless. He was extremely confused and paranoid, and he was sweating a lot. It's not. It probably was fever. Yeah, he kept calling out for this guy named Reynolds. We really don't know what that was about. Lack of appetite. So yeah, something weird happened. Something really weird happened.
Huh. That is strange. I don't know, like, I don't know, because it's like, drugs usually will wear off at some point. Alcohol will wear off at some point. So it's like he can't, like, if he did it for a day or two and then maybe died, or if he did it for like a day or two and then was fine, I would be like, okay, sure, he was just under the influence. But for it to go so long to the point where drugs would have been out of his system and everything, like, yeah, that's what just weirds me out about it.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, let's get into his background because there are some clues about what maybe might have happened, and then from there we'll go into theories before reading our ChatGPT story.
Yeah.
So, Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19th, 1809. Both his parents died before he was 3 years old. So, not a great start to life, right?
No. Some people can take that and turn it into good, like Batman.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he ends up getting adopted by a man named Alan, which later his name is Edgar Poe, but later on he's given the name Alan in addition in reference to his godfather.
Yeah.
And his godfather kind of was not really that present for him.
Wow.
fact, actually, when Edgar Allan Poe starts college, like he gives him some money, but not enough money to pay for it, and it gets so bad that like Edgar Allan Poe starts burning his own furniture to keep himself warm in his dorm room.
What the heck?
Yeah, like that's how much money he was. Like he wasn't even being given money to like turn on the heating or anything like that.
Did you live in dorms?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Have you? You
yeah,
have, right?
yeah,
First, yeah. How was it?
for sure. It was fine. I lived with the RA, and luckily we didn't have to burn the couch.
Yeah, I know, right?
That sucks though, man. Like imagine like your parents dying, then you get adopted, and then your adoptive parent is terrible.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's wild. Anyway, at various points, he comes back home, falls in love to a girl named where's her name? Oh, okay, Elmira Shelton.
Okay. Now
Uh,
I think I know a little bit about Elmira.
yeah, okay. Did you want to talk about it?
That's
If you
her. That's his cousin, right?
No, that's not. Okay, yeah.
Oh.
We'll get to his cousin in just a second.
Oh, okay. So this isn't when he decided to say roll tide.
No, that's not what it is. Okay, so he well actually so he fell in love with her before going to college, but he goes to college. Well, he gets engaged to her, goes to college. College doesn't work out because his godfather's not giving him money. He comes
Right.
home. Guess what?
What?
Elmira Shelton is engaged to somebody else now.
Oh my gosh. This he is Steven. This would have happened to you.
I know, right? So crazy stuff. So that's where he starts his drinking habit.
Mm.
He kind of drinks to, kind of comfort himself. But he doesn't handle liquor very well. It's actually reported that he really just did not hold liquor. Like he would get drunk after one drink. Yeah, like it was just bad. He did not
What a
hold.
lightweight.
Yeah, he was extremely lightweight.
I bet he didn't have
But
any friends in college.
he goes to the military, but his godfather hates that he goes to the military, so he actually buys Poe out of the military, which is something you could do at that time.
Wait. What do you mean you could buy them out of the military?
Yeah, so he buys him out of the military, which is interesting because I was like, why didn't you just pay for his college if you had the money to buy him
Yeah,
out?
but what? Okay, what does buying out of the military basically mean?
You basically give a bunch of money to the U.S. military to get them to kick somebody out
Oh,
and not take them back.
bribery. Got it.
Yeah, so he gets kicked out of the military, and then he's like, well, shoot, I was gonna pay for myself to live with that money, but he's like, nah, I can't even do that. He comes back home and he enters a writing contest, gets his first big boy job out of that writing contest. So things are
Ooh.
starting to look up. He starts writing poems. He starts writing newspaper publications, and he starts to make some money. However, he's still kind of poor, so he goes to live with his aunt. And here's where things get weird. So, while living with his aunt, he falls in love with a girl named Virginia. The problem is, Virginia is his cousin. But not only that, it gets even weirder and
Wait,
grosser.
how? Okay, how can it get weirder or grosser from doing your cousin?
Well, his cousin, at the time they got married, Edgar Allan Poe was 27 and Virginia was 13. Yeah.
Edgar,
So,
Edgar, what are you doing?
as I said at the beginning of the show,
Creep.
there's some love life decisions that I would not make that I would hope nobody else would make.
No.
I'm not
Oh
defending
my.
him, but I will say that was acceptable at the time. It's definitely not. It should never have been acceptable.
No.
You know, But to defend him slightly, it's like, okay, but yeah, that was weird. That was really weird.
All right,
So,
listen, it's one thing for her to be your cousin, but for her to be that young,
yeah,
Edgar.
yeah, can't be doing that, bro. Can't be doing that. So I can't defend that. But anyway,
No one can defend that.
no.
Like sure, okay, you do your cut. You're with your cousin. That's one thing, fine. But for it to be her to be 13, that's whoa there, bud. Whoa.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like
Yeah, your
I'm
cousin's
27.
a little bit like, that's a little strange. I wouldn't do that, me, like don't like I get keeping the family, but that's a little too much keeping the family.
For sure. Dude, I'm 27 right now. And like
Oh,
that's just oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine. So just wild stuff.
Steven gets canceled.
I know, right? Okay, here we go. So why do I bring that up? Uh by some accounts it was a happy marriage.
What? How?
I don't know. However, when she's 24 years old, Virginia gets sick and she dies.
Bro.
Edgar Allan Poe naturally becomes very depressed and he goes back to the bottle, same kind of thing, just drinking a lot, getting depressed. Here's where things get interesting, and here's where we finally like get back to when he dies.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to Richmond, and who does he meet? Elmira Shelton,
Oh.
the girl that he was engaged to a couple of decades earlier.
Oh, finally going after someone your own age now, aren't you, Edgar?
Yeah, right. She's now newly single.
Oh.
Poe talks to her, and they get engaged a second time. So, for all of those guys that say she's not coming back, well, hey, sometimes she might come back. Who knows?
Yeah. If
So,
you love something, you let it go.
and if it comes back to you, it's your love. So,
It's love. Yep. There you go. See, you didn't need your 13-year-old cousin. You didn't need to go be a creep.
there you go. So they get engaged. Poe decides he's going to quit drinking forever. He swears off it. He's like, I'm never doing it again. He signs a temperance pledge. And him and Elmira are talking. And he says, hey, I'm going to go to visit my friend in Philadelphia. He needs me to edit a book. Don't worry, honey. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
He never comes back.
No, he doesn't.
He's found in Baltimore and he dies. So, before I get into theories, any questions, comments, concerns? I know you have concerns.
A lot of concerns.
Sure, yeah. So, anything I might have missed? Any gaps I can fill?
No. Well, actually, what did Virginia die of?
Yeah, good question. She died of.
Because I know you just said she got sick, but I didn't know
Yeah, she tuberculosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of common back then.
actually, that's how his parents died too.
Runs in the family.
Tuberculosis is like his chief ops. So anyway, so yeah, don't marry your 13-year-old cousin, guys. Don't do it. Not an okay thing.
There's a lot of reasons you should not do it.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of reasons.
A lot of reasons. So
Or being your cousin, like, okay, if that's your thing, whatever. The 13's the hard part. That's the part that should not be in there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I will say, I do find it a little not funny because it shouldn't be funny, but
Sure, yeah.
it's like he's 27, marries this really young girl, and you think, oh, Edgar, she's gonna outlive him.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, by 24, she's gone.
She's
Which
dead.
that's 11 years. So I guess he would have been 38. Yeah, he passed away when he was 40. So basically, this is the weird part. I forgot to mention this detail.
Yeah.
When his wife Virginia died, a lot of like literary critics, he had become famous by this point.
Yeah.
A lot of literary critics predicted that within the next 2 years, Edgar Allan Poe himself would also pass away.
Well, you know what's interesting,
What's that?
and again, I don't like that. Okay, well, the good thing is she was 24 at the time of her death.
Right.
Should have just waited 10 years, Edgar.
I know, right? Yeah.
Anyways, what's really weird is that there's like the whole broken heart syndrome,
Yeah.
but it's like this doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, he loved her
I wonder.
as
Yeah,
one could have, I guess, in that weird way.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's difficult for us to say that because it's just like, I mean, let's just call it for what it is. Like, it's abuse, right?
yeah.
Um, you know, a girl that age really can't consent.
No,
Yeah, it feels weird to call it love and to call it broken heart syndrome. But I guess as weird as it is, I guess both of those things could be true at once. I think we could say it was abuse, but that also, as she got older, she did come to love him too. And so by the time she died, perhaps it is true that he actually was heartbroken over it.
mhm.
Even
Well, and
even
that's the
if it
thing.
was
Like, I mean, that's like the thing is, back then, I feel like divorce wasn't divorce wasn't as common, but it wasn't as bad as like in biblical times. Where it was like that's not an option.
sure.
So I do wonder. I do wonder, like, if I mean, if she stuck around till she died, you know, at that young of an age, she probably had no clue what was going on. But it does make you wonder: did she actually fall in love with him, or was it more like, um, what's Stockholm syndrome? You know?
Yeah. It's hard to say. People that knew them both well said that they were both happy. Now again, it's
Should have waited just a little. Should have just waited a little bit longer. Okay, Edgar.
sure. It still would have been weird. Like, let's say he waited 5 years and she was 18 and 32. Like it still would have been weird, but that still would have been a lot better, right?
You probably should have just waited 7.
Sure. Yeah. I think
I feel
yeah,
like that's a little bit better than
yeah. Although there is the creepiness of waiting for a girl that
Yeah, that's the other creepy part. Either way, it's not a good situation.
sure, because yeah, that's where the Drake accusations come in of people saying like, oh, Drake's just waiting for that girl to turn 18 before he swoops in, and everybody rightly acknowledges like that's a really creepy thing to do. So
Yep. So I looked it up to kind of try to see. Um, so I don't think Edgar died of broken heart syndrome based off the symptoms you said.
okay,
So broken heart syndrome, also known as Takatsu Subo cardiomyopathy or stress cardiomyopathy, is a heart condition that causes a sudden weakening of the heart's pumping function. It's actually triggered by extreme emotional or physical stress such as grief, fear, anger, surprise, high fever, stroke, or seizure. The word taka, takso, tak, takasobo is Japanese for octopus trap and refers to the heart abnormal ballooning shape during this condition. So, like, broken heart is actually an actual thing, but it sounds like he probably didn't have, you know, we're just going on an adventure with Steven.
let's let's get into the Sorry, I had to grab my charger. It was in my car.
No, you're good.
Let's get into the theories because
Yeah.
I think he probably died by a combination of things. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first theory is alcohol. That he broke his pledge, he drank a lot, and the alcohol poisoning is what killed him. So he had been a lifelong drunk. He was known to have not held his liquor that well. If he had a relapse, And especially if he had drank a lot, that definitely would have been really, really bad for him.
Yeah,
And all of like the incoherent stuff he said matches with like somebody that's drunk, right? So,
right.
so that's the first theory, and for me, I'm like, that's plausible. It doesn't explain the weird clothes. It doesn't explain why he's in Baltimore when he was supposed to be going to Philadelphia. So there's a few holes in it that, at least from,
Yeah, there. I agree that there's a couple holes. I think with the alcohol thing, it's my question is like, Virginia died,
right,
and as much as we don't agree with what the whole relationship, if Edgar really loved her, I feel like he would have probably started, drinking or whatever. But it's weird because it's like, why would he drink? You know,
sure,
because his first love, that got engaged to some other dude. She comes back and she's like, "Yeah, I'll get engaged to you again." It's like, whoa, true love. It's like a Disney princess story, right? It's like, well, why would he drink? You know,
sure,
because it's a Hallmark movie. Literally, she leaves, she comes back, and she's like, "I want to be with you," and then he goes off and drinks. Like, doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah. It's there's things that match, but I do think there's probably more of an explanation. So which gets us to our third theory, or our second theory rather.
Yeah.
The second theory is rabies. This is actually a very new theory. So Edgar Allan Poe dies in 1849.
Hmm.
This theory doesn't start until the 1990s. Now, why does the 90s happen? Well, in the 90s, researchers went to Poe's grave, got his DNA, and tested it.
Hmm.
And they said that, though inconclusive, it's possible that Poe had contracted rabies at some point. Maybe he was on his way to Philadelphia and a wild animal attacked him and bit him, or that, some other thing that could probably cause rabies. But yeah, for humans that have had rabies, same thing, they're incoherent, they can barely walk, they're saying crazy things. So, yeah, a rabies diagnosis would seem to match potentially some of what was happening. It's also, though, doesn't explain why he was wearing different clothes or how he ended up in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that theory?
You know what actually kills people who have rabies? Do you know what kills rabies victims?
What's that?
Water, dehydration.
You know what? He was severely dehydrated. That was
Because what rabies does is it actually makes you afraid of water
oh
in
weird.
a way to where like the what kills you with rabies is you don't want to drink water or anything, you die of dehydration.
Yeah.
So I mean that saying that sounds pretty plausible knowing the whole now you're telling me he was dehydrated and everything. So that to me sounds like a plausible thing. It's the clothes, you know, and
Sure.
how I got ended up in the wrong city.
Let's keep going through the theories because I think this will start to split it up. Some say that he was murdered or poisoned. There was one account that said that they saw Edgar Allan Poe drunkenly hitting on a woman.
Mm.
The woman got mad, went and told her friend, and the friend went and beat Edgar Allan Poe basically until he was near death, and then he died later in the hospital. So that's one theory. That would explain how he was beaten up because, yeah, I mean, you don't just get bruises and stuff on your body.
Yeah, and I mean I feel
Just
like
right.
that could also maybe explain a little bit about the incoherent. If he had a head wound, you know, it probably could have led to some brain damage that could have led to him
Sure. It could
babbling.
also maybe explain who Reynolds was because one name he kept repeating over and over was Reynolds, and it's like nobody knew who that was. But maybe it's possible
Mm.
that he was like saying a name to say like, "Hey, this is the guy that beat me or poisoned me or whatever."
Yeah, I feel like okay, I could see that.
Yeah. Another theory is that he had a brain tumor, and the brain tumor would also explain him just talking crazy and being undiagnosed. It would the brain tumor theory still leaves a lot to be desired, though. For me, again, how did he get to the place? Why was he wearing weird clothes? But this gets us to our final theory, and this is my favorite theory. And I guess I kind of already gave the bag away, but this is the theory I believe, and we'll talk about it. So
Hmm.
this theory is called the cooping theory.
Cooping.
Now, what is cooping? In the
Never.
American 1850s and 1840s and 1830s, and however long it lasted, there was a popular practice of local gangs to kidnap people, force them to go vote multiple times while wearing different outfits. So they would kidnap people, make them change an outfit, go vote, bring them back, make them change an outfit, go vote again, and they would make
Huh.
them keep. They would force them to keep voting for their preferred candidate until I guess they felt like they had enough votes. So it was a pretty well-known practice at the time, but that would explain why Edgar Allan Poe had different clothes. That would
Yeah.
explain why he was in Baltimore. Like,
Hmm.
how did he end up in Baltimore? Like, some guys kidnapped him, put him there. It could explain his drunkenness. So, whenever you voted, a reward people would give you at the time for voting was they would give you a free glass of a free glass of beer.
Mm.
If Edgar Allan Poe is voting multiple times, he's drinking multiple glasses of beer,
Yeah.
which is way more than he can handle. Because like already one makes him drunk. If he's
Yeah.
drinking several, so for me, the cooping brings in the alcohol element. It brings up the beating up element. It brings up him wearing different clothes. It kind of explains why he's in Baltimore. Remember where he was found? He was found near a polling place, a place where you go vote.
Mm.
So
I
that all ties
see.
that together. So
Huh.
the cooping theory, for all of the reasons I just said, is the most popular theory. It has
Yeah.
never been confirmed though, but for all of the reasons I just said, it just explains so many things that to me it's the theory that I believe is the most common, and that's why that's a theory I
Yeah.
personally
I I could see I see what you're talking about, like multiple things could play in.
sure.
I do think the cooping I think the theories that I think that work together is the cooping theory and the bar fight theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he was doing this whole cooping thing and then he happened to get drunk, usually when you're drunk, you do stupid things.
Sure.
So I can see him, being a part of this whole cooping thing, getting kidnapped or whatever, going along with his kidnappers, and then doing the cooping, and then later on, that day or whatever, he ends up at a bar and maybe says something to a woman because he's not thinking straight because he's drunk, and then he gets the
Mm-hmm.
crap beat out of him. So then the alcohol, the cooping would play into the whole idea of the clothes. Him getting the shit beat out of him would play into the idea of maybe getting his head knocked around a couple times, and you know,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. This is one where, in theory, all of what we said could be true, or some mix of it could be true. Like it could be possible that he was drunk, had rabies, had a tumor, got beat up because he was hitting on a girl, got kidnapped to be cooped. Like it's possible that every single theory we
it's
said,
possible every single theory could work. It's possible some theories could work. It's possible none of these theories are true.
for sure, yeah. Like any mix of those things could exactly what you said. They could all be true. Some of them could be true, or none of them could be true.
And that's just what makes this such a mystery.
Yeah, for sure. What one thing that makes it mysterious? Dr. John Moran changed the story 3 times. So first he said Poe got drunk and died from that. Later on, he said that Poe was poisoned, possibly murdered by somebody, and then he changed it to he caught pharyngitis, which pharyngitis is
Titus.
basically just depression that causes you to drink. So
Oh,
so
that is
that's weird.
interesting.
It's like, why are you changing your story, dude?
So what happened to what's her name?
Elmira?
Yeah, yeah.
That is a good question. Yeah. Yeah, because she was expecting him to come back. So
Never
let me look
did.
that up real
And
quick.
to this day, she still stands by the water, staring out of the ocean, waiting for her true love to come home.
Yeah, I
Brought to
know.
you by Hallmark.
So Elmira, after, oh, sorry, let me look this up. I assume she probably got married to somebody else.
Ugh.
Okay, let's see. Oh, they were secretly engaged
Oh,
that second time. Oh, this is even sadder. So he dies on October 9th. Guess when they're supposed to be married?
the next day.
Well, it's not quite that close, but yeah,
Okay.
they're going to be married on October 17th. So,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, that is so.
Yikes.
Oh, she never remarried. She lived out
Aw.
the rest of her day. She lived out the rest of her days in Richmond. People would come and try to talk to her because it was revealed that she had been secretly engaged to Poe, but she didn't want to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
And then she died in 1888, about 40 years after Poe died.
Oh,
And yeah, that is her legacy. So
wow. And she waited on him.
I know. Yeah.
So sad.
So sad, sad times.
Really sad.
Okay, well, which theory do you believe, and then we'll get into our ChatGPT story, and then we'll
Yeah,
wrap up.
I think if anything, I believe the cooping and the him getting the crap beat out of him because he flirted with a girl or whatever. I think those two theories work together.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I really do think, I think like our past mysteries we've had, with like the Mary Celeste, Roanoke, which actually we got to eventually revisit Roanoke.
Yeah. Yeah. We still need to do that at some point.
But with some of these other past mysteries we have, like Stonehenge and whatnot, there's all these theories, and we could come up with every single theory we want to till the sun goes down. You
Sure.
know, to the end of the world, right? Till the end of time, we could sit there and
Sure.
ramble on about what could have happened to Edgar Allan Poe, and we can say what we think. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be one of those unsolved mysteries that's probably not going to be solved for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's yeah, it's just going to be one of those things. Okay, here we go. Our ChatGPT story, where Will the cowboy and me, Stephen the Indian, encounter Edgar Allan Poe. So here we go. The Pale Visitor, a Beyond the Campfire time slip mystery. Our story takes place in Baltimore in October of 2025. So here we go. They didn't plan on ending up in the past. One moment, they are walking along the old cobblestone street outside what used to be Washington College Hospital.
Hmm.
And the next, the wind shifted, the air turned sour, the streetlights vanished, the gaslight flickered overhead, and the distant toll of a church bell echoed 12 times. Will looked around. Tell me this isn't what I think it is. Stephen narrowed his eyes. That depends. Do you think we're in 1849? A carriage rumbled past. The lamplighter tipped his hat. Will exhaled. Yes, that's exactly what I think. They followed a strange pull toward a hospital, though it looked far newer now. Inside, it smelled of laudanum and mold. No electric hum, only candlelight. The nurse at the desk didn't see them, nor did the doctor who passed them in the hall. They were ghosts here, or someone else was. Then they heard it, a rasping voice, A man muttering in the shadows of the far room. They stepped in. There he lay, gaunt, pale, trembling beneath a thin sheet. Edgar Allan Poe. His eyes fluttered open as they approached. "You're not the doctor," Poe whispered. Stephen stepped forward. "No, sir. We're travelers?" Poe gave the pained smile. "Time travelers. Yes, I see. I always believed it possible. The veil is thin when the soul is near departure." Will looked at the great man of letters. Ruined, haunted, barely hanging on. "They come at night," Poe murmured. "They whisper verses I never wrote. They mock me, call me father, but they lie." Stephen frowned. "Who comes?" Poe turned his eyes to the far corner. "Him." And that's when they saw it. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, thin, draped in a tattered poet's cloak. His face was a shifting blur of skull and ink, bleeding words from its sockets. Bits of Poe's stories clung to him. The Raven, Fortunato's change, Usher's crumbling walls. "I am what you birthed," it hissed. "All your grief, your rage, your longing. You summoned me with every tale." Will instinctively reached for his revolver. "You ain't real." "I am more than bullets." Stephen stepped between them. "You are not master here. Poe belongs to God." The specter snarled. "He fed me, named me, let me in." Poe groaned, clutching his chest. I never meant for them to live." Stephen placed a hand on Poe's shoulder. "Even so, there's mercy for the brokenhearted. Psalm 34 says, 'The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit.'" The specter howled. "Roar!" Words tore from its form like paper in a storm, and it collapsed into ash. Poe looked up at them, suddenly at peace. You believe in something stronger than shadows." Stephen nodded. "Yes, I believe in the Lord Jesus." Poe wept, not in terror, but in release. "Lord, help my poor soul." The room shimmered, the gaslights vanished. The church bell tolled. Let's see. And suddenly, everything began to vanish. 2025. Will and Stephen stood outside the ruins of the old hospital. The wind was still. The fog had cleared. Will exhaled. That happened, didn't it?" Stephen smiled faintly. "I think we just prayed with Edgar Allan Poe." Will shook his head. "Brother, we need to start carrying travel insurance for time travel." Stephen chuckled. They walked on. Behind them, a raven perched on a rustled street lamp, watching, silent. The end.
I like it.
Yep. I like how it doesn't explain how we time traveled. It just says that it happened.
Or did we time travel?
Or did we time travel? Yeah.
Did
Who knows?
we?
Right?
Who knows? Well, thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you guys follow us on our socials and check out our Patreon because we're gonna be putting that stuff out, right, Steve? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we will be filming the things soon enough. So
I
we haven't forgotten you guys.
yeah,
Be on the lookout.
and I think that's all we have. You got anything else?
Don't marry your 13-year-old cousin. Make sure you don't get drunk, and don't hit on women that you shouldn't be hitting on. So,
Yeah.
especially when you're engaged for the second time to your teenage love. So there we go.
Yep. And yeah, don't do that. And yeah, I think that's all we got, right?
There we go. Life advice with Will and Steven.
Lord help my poor soul.